Welcome to But Enough About Me, a podcast about other people. My name is Tyler Andrews. I'm a Nashville-based photographer, husband, and father. I'm trying to collect the stories of everyone around me, whether we're best friends or total strangers. I want to know what made you the person you are today. Hello, everybody. It is episode 22 of the podcast. This is going to be a good one. A quick note off the top, if you are not a Nashville native or haven't been paying attention to the news, there was a very serious tornado that went through Nashville and did all kinds of damage. A couple of my very close friends lost their homes and basically everything they own to the tornado, and they were lucky. A bunch of other folks, 20-something people, have already been reported dead, and innumerable injuries and all that. And of course, innumerable close calls and amazing, miraculous saves as well. But the bottom line is, if you're not aware, go check the news, look at some pictures, and then look for a way to help. Nashville could use a hand right now. I say Nashville, it's Nashville, and then points east, Mount Juliet and Lebanon and some folks over there as well. So if you get a chance and you are so inclined, and I hope you are, do what you can to help those folks out. We recorded this about a month ago, I think, month and a half, I don't remember. And it was later in the evening, and it was a very good time. You'll hear that. My guest is a father and a husband. He has 3 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife that he will talk all about in the episode. When I asked him how I should introduce him, he said, professionally blue collar. I guess that's fair. You'll have to judge for yourselves. This one gets wild. It's a fun, intense story at times, very funny at other times. It's definitely one of those stories that makes it easier to listen to because you know how it ends to some extent. The simple fact that he's sitting here telling you the story lets you know that it's all going to be okay. At any rate, I'm so excited for you guys to get to meet my very, very good friend, Mr. Mike Guzman.
Yeah, so I just say marriage counseling.
Yeah, right.
You're married.
Yeah. Anyway.
I got that word right, Paige.
This is going to be the longest, most meandering podcast ever. Mike, thank you for doing this.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a long time coming.
It really has.
Mike, where were you born?
I was born in the Dirty D. That's the 313 Detroit.
A dirty D.
Yeah, man.
That's awful.
No, man. I was literally born at Detroit Mercy.
Okay.
And was raised in Detroit, and then moved out to the suburbs as I started to grow up.
Tell me about your folks.
Never met my dad.
Never?
Nope. We had the exact same name. I'm a junior, JR.
Really?
Uh-huh. My mom, she died when I was 13, but she was incredibly strong. For what I remember, I was 13. I mean, a lot of my knowledge of my mom came post her death, just from like people feeding me information over the years and hearing crazy stories. And apparently my mom was like a man's lady, because you can't say lady's man. Like, men loved my mom.
Okay.
And she was a bigger lady, which is not typical, I had all these crazy stories of like guys like throwing themselves on my mom and like begging her to go out on dates and stuff. And so I was always like, I know where I got that from,
Wow.
Yeah. She's a single mom of 2 kids. My sister and I have different dads.
Okay.
My sister's 12 years older than I am.
Okay.
But yeah, growing up, I mean, no dad, and my mom worked single mom, like you got to.
Right. Obviously. Yeah.
And she worked for Michigan Bell, and then she got sick. I think I was in the 4th grade, and she died 2 weeks before 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me back up for a second. Why do you have your dad's name if you never met your dad?
I think my mom, one of those questions that I've asked multiple people, my grandma, my sister.
Right.
And what I've gathered is that my mom wanted me to have that connection to him.
Okay.
Because she really loved my dad. And I think she wanted me to be able to, I guess, just have that part of him with me. Like, because she was the one who's like, don't come around him.
Oh, wow.
Get away. Like, you're a terrible. He is to this day, unfortunately, a terrible human being. So I think she just wanted me to have that.
Wow.
Yeah, just as like a name. Say, I don't know. Like it's. I mean, I love it. I love. I'm a Guzman. I would have been a McSpadden,
Okay.
which is.
Wow, that wouldn't fit you.
It really wouldn't. Like, you know. I mean, I don't have any red in my beard. I mean, I do a little bit, but like, you know, I'm not Irish.
No, you don't. You
No.
don't look Irish.
No.
Okay. So they were done before you were born.
Yeah. So I think there's one picture of him holding me,
Okay.
and I had just come home from the hospital. I was 2-3 months premature.
Okay. Wow.
I was in an incubator for a long time.
Yeah.
There's one picture of my dad holding me, and you know, at that time, like 1984, if you had a Polaroid, that's
Yep.
all you had, you know. So
Yeah.
he was pretty much out of my life at like 6 months. The day I was born, my mom was in labor, and he was at his girlfriend's house
Wow.
while he was living with my mom. Like
Classy.
Yeah, he's a class act.
That's he was living with your mom, and she knew about this.
Unfortunately, I believe so. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Man, I'm sorry. Okay. So, all right. So 6 months, he's gone, single mom, and your sister was 12 years older. Do you remember hanging out with her as a young child?
I remember being up her butt as a child. I was that typical little brother. Mm-hmm. Like, one of my memories is I remember going into her bedroom while she wasn't there and finding her book that she wrote in. And I took a crayon to every page and was just like, gah, 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 you know, like, and that was her journal, you know, and I was just being a little turd, you know.
And like purposefully.
Yeah, oh yeah, I knew that. Like I knew this was gonna make her mad.
Wow.
And I didn't know what I was destroying, like you know.
Sure.
But I'm sure if I was older, I'd have been like, oh, what does this say?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And my mom worked a lot, so like my sister basically raised me. Yeah, and I think I was 8 when she went in the hospital the first time. So my mom relied very heavily upon my sister.
What did your mom go to the hospital for?
We thought it was like the flu or something. She couldn't really talk.
Wow.
Then, she just was like mumbling. So I remember them coming into the house, and we rented a little itty bitty house on 5th Street in Trenton. They took her to the hospital. This hospital is no longer there. It was a very bad hospital. And they sent her home that day because they said, oh, you know, she just has the flu or whatever, and she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Turns out she was having multiple strokes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they sent her home. We took her to another hospital right away because, like, literally, I think it was a couple hours, if my recollection's correct. And so there was a lawsuit, which was, I didn't, like, you don't know, like, I guess we were poor growing up. I really didn't know that. But I did notice, like, now we had all this money. I never knew the absence of money, but then I was like, oh, we got all this money, you know, like, we had, like, my mom had won the lawsuit, you know.
Yeah.
And so things had changed, but like also like our quality of life had changed. Like we'd got a nicer place, a nicer car. But I remember that it was such a stressful time, even as like a 4th grader. My mom wasn't okay. Everybody was stressed out. But like we're going to like the Honda dealership to look at cars. Like we're moving. Like there's a lot going on right now. Why is all this going on as well? Like it didn't, you know.
Yeah. You mentioned school. How were you in school?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. School was really rough on me. Elementary school. I mean, I had a problem like going to the bathroom. Like I would like poop my pants and stuff growing up, and so like you know, that's something that's hard to hide.
Yes.
And then kids are mean.
Yes.
You know, so kids were mean, and I couldn't hide this thing, and so that didn't make it easy. And then my mom being sick, and then the neighborhood we lived in just had these kids that were just the meanest kids. When I think back, what I remember the most is running home from the school bus. Like I had to outrun the bad kids. And the school bus driver was actually a really nice lady, Sue, remember her name? She would let everybody off, and I would sit right behind her. And then she would punch it to 2 blocks away to where it's closer to my house. And she'd let me off, and to give me a head start. And I would run to my house. And sometimes I would make it, sometimes I wouldn't. Every once in a while, neighbors would intervene.
So daily, they're chasing you down and trying to beat you up?
Yeah.
And how old are you at this point? I mean, this is elementary school?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, all the way through 6th grade. I mean, I think it really started, 5th grade.
Okay.
4th and 5th grade.
Man, and these kids were your age or older or what?
Yeah, they were all in the same school. And I remember when my mom got sick the first time I gained, I quit going outside for that entire summer. I gained a lot of weight, and so did she, because you can't do much. She was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
She could walk a little bit, but so we didn't do much. But what we could do is we had money, so now we could eat. And so, not only was I the stinky kid, but now I was the fat, stinky kid,
Yeah.
Elementary school was just brutal. And it's really funny that, the coin flipped a lot in my life with that, because going into the 7th grade, I was big and I had aggression.
Go figure.
So I can go, somebody said, hey, you should come play football with us. And I did that. And it was I went from being that kid who was chased and beat down to hey, I'm bigger than you.
Right.
You used to pick on me and I'm bigger than you.
Yeah.
And now I get to hit you?
Yeah.
This is the most perfect thing in the world.
Yeah.
Why does everybody do this, and it changed. I was semi-popular. I was a football player in the 7th grade. I wasn't, but I had gotten this confidence that I never had about myself. And it was super cool. Things were opening up. It felt because and by opening up, I went from being beat up and picked on to included, had some confidence, things had really changed. And that would be the summer my mom actually died.
After 7th grade?
After 7th grade, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was things were looking up and things looking down.
What happened there?
She just one day wasn't feeling well, and somebody had called her, and they kept calling, and finally I got on the phone, and I was like, hey, hello, and it was my mom's friend, Kathy, I think. She was like, hey, your mom isn't, doing well. She's kind of slurring her words. I'm coming over, take her to the hospital, call your sister. So she came over, got her, and she wasn't acting right. She really wasn't. She was kind of just absent in the mind and just kind of slurring her words. And I remember telling her that I loved her as she was crutching into the car, and she said she loved me back. And those were actually the last words that she ever said to me, that she was able to say, which I'm very grateful for. But yeah, so she went to the hospital, and things she was having another multiple little strokes.
I was wondering,
and things just got really bad from there. They just got worse. She was not coherent. And they escalated quickly.
Yeah.
There are times when it feels like that memory of her being in the hospital was a day or 6 months. And I think the total time was 3 weeks.
Wow.
In the hospital.
That's
2 or 3
a lot
weeks.
of time.
It is. That summer, too, right, because I had all this confidence that I never had before, I was putting myself out there and, kind of meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 13. I'm meeting new people.
Yeah, yeah. Going places, doing things.
Yeah, making a life for myself. I had met a lot of bad kids, and started smoking weed, doing stupid crap, smoking cigarettes. Stealing cigarettes out of behind doctors' offices where the nurses smoke.
Oh,
taking their little and they're because they only have 5 minutes to smoke.
Yeah, stubbed out.
Yeah, man. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, trust me. Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah. But
guess where there's a will, there's a way.
Right? Yeah. But for a long time, I really hated myself because that summer I was buzzed all the time and high all the time, and I was gone all the time. Like I'd leave in the morning, ride my bike, and wouldn't be back until 8, 9 o'clock at night. Hanging with kids who were like huffing propane, and
Wow.
like one of my buddies owned a small chop shop for bikes.
Yeah.
Like hanging out with older girls who were doing things that you shouldn't be doing. Like I felt bad for a long time because I felt like I missed out on a lot of time with my mom that I didn't know that I was going to be missing out on. I mean, I've forgiven myself for that. And she passed away September 9th.
So right as the school year started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think school had started, and I think it was like 2 days later or 2 weeks later. Like I said, that time frame was so skewed because,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really life shattering.
So how did you deal with that?
Because I was beat up so much and tormented by these other kids, and because of the anger I had towards my dad and towards life, because my mom was sick, and I had all this newfound confidence because of my size and my ability. What manifested was this great anger, and it was I never had anything to believe in growing up, and now I did, and it was me. I realized at 13 that the only person that I could depend on would be myself, and that I would never let anybody hurt me or somebody that I loved again. That just manifested itself in getting in fights, dealing drugs, selling kids acid, gel tabs,
Wow.
smoking a lot of weed, drinking as much as a 13-year-old can get his hands on.
You were doing all that at 13?
Mm-hmm.
You were selling acid at 13.
I stopped playing. I didn't play football the next year. The people I surrounded myself with were people who I felt like could resonate with what I felt inside, which was darkness.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful. Even in that time, the Lord, I feel like, sent all these people my way. One of the guys, Nick Leffler, one of my best friends. I've known him since kindergarten. He was the only guy. He's the only friend that came to my mom's funeral. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of friends, a couple other friends that were really solid dudes, but were also into like skateboarding, punk rock music, spiky hair, all the bad stuff, all the stuff you want to keep your kids away from,
I don't think punk rock and spiky hair are the things I want to keep my kids away from, but
No, but it was just like, and then God bless my sister, because she had just gotten married in June of that year.
I was just wondering where she was at.
Yeah. She was, I think, 25 at the time. Dude, she needs to be on this show. She since she was 12, she was helping take care of her little brother. She helps take care of her mom. My mom, when she was in recovery, physical recovery for after the stroke, and I mean, there were times like I remember coming in and like my sister had to clean up my mom after my mom went to the bathroom. Those are very humbling things to see. And then she gets married. She meets the man of her dreams. The greatest father I've ever met, greatest man I've ever met is my brother-in-law. He's untouchable. Dude, she was married for 5 months. And right as my mom died, like Casey, my brother-in-law, just walks to my sister and says, "We got Mike. We got it." And they took me in. They had, technically adopted me.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, it was either like if no, it was like next of kin.
Yeah.
Or ward of the state, and they're not going to put me at the state.
No, sure.
And so we moved into their little 1-bedroom apartment, and they had been married for a couple months. Like a month in, us living in that apartment after my mom died, they bought their first home.
Wow.
I mean, I expedited their life.
Yeah, no kidding.
And she was dealing with the loss of our mom, so I just walked all over them. I mean, like any 13-year-old try to walk over their parents. Mm-hmm. Well, I just lost my mom. I never had a dad. Now you're going to come in here and try to be my authority?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see that work.
Yeah.
I'll be outside smoking a cigarette on the porch. I made it very hard on them, but she's incredible. And he's one of those guys where success follows him. He works his way up the ranks, and he did that at Wendy's. And they needed more money, so he started working for Men's Warehouse. And my sister worked for Montessori centers.
Okay.
And she actually owns a Montessori center now.
Oh, wow. Did they have kids?
They did. The year I graduated high school, which I did graduate.
Congratulations.
On time.
Wow.
Right. They had my nephew Connor.
Okay.
Who is just like not your... He's like one of your kids. He's not your normal kid. He's just...
What's that supposed to mean?
Because he's not like a stupid running around being dumb. Like, he wasn't a me.
Okay.
Like, he just, he has his wits about him.
Yeah.
He's an old soul.
Yeah.
Bam, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Great kid. The world doesn't deserve that kid. And then they had my niece Paisley the same year we had my first daughter.
Uh-huh.
So he was 10,
Okay.
11,
You graduated in 02?
03.
03.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my sister is 12 years older than I am. We have a kid the exact same age, which is really, really weird.
So let's go back to you being in high school and dealing drugs and doing all the things.
Yes.
How bad did it get? Do you remember any specifics of all of that? Tell me details.
Well, I mean, high school was a big change. This is like a lot of the damage was done my 8th grade year.
Okay. Well, then tell me about 8th grade.
Yeah, which really, it was like this survival mentality when I went to school every day. It wasn't I'm here to learn.
No.
It was like I had to get there way early because before the doors opened because my sister had to go to work.
Oh, wow.
So I was there by myself in the morning, and then I wouldn't be picked up until about 45 minutes or an hour till after school. And gosh, I mean, just the craziest crap. Kids assaulting other kids, beating up kids, selling acid in the bathroom. Like this constant fear of like, who's going to get me or who am I going to get?
Yeah.
And a lot of it was like, we egged it on.
Sure.
Like we wanted to act like tough turds. Like it was like this punks versus skaters.
Yeah,
Or this like punks versus like jocks thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
The clique thing.
yeah, and it was so dumb, but it was like it was my life, man. I'm in the 8th grade, like I don't have a dad, I don't have a mom, like everything just got ripped apart. Everything I have that I used to invest my time into is gone. So now I'm just going to invest my life into my friends and into like hating everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I got really big into music. My life is crap. I'm so angry, like just not doing anything with it. And then I found music, and it was like, it's like a faucet was like opened up a little bit, and it was kind of coming out. And so I really got into music, got into drugs, got into skateboarding. I was never good at it, but I loved it. I remember us like circling up around one kid one time after a dance and just like stomping on him.
Wow. Why?
I don't know. The kid's name was Aaron, but I remember us chasing him into the auditorium, and it was at a school dance, and we circled him up and we just started like kicking him violently, and then we left. And that night, this just happened. He's going to tell all his friends. All my friends are leaving, and I am standing there having to wait for my sister to come get me. Now I'm by myself. Like the numbers are not good. I'm trying to get out of here, so I hopped in a van with one of my friends without being able to tell my sister, because this is before cell phones.
Yeah.
And like I did that crap to them all the time. Like just not being where I'm supposed to be, things like that. Like getting caught with cigarettes at the school, and just crazy stupid stuff that like I brought onto myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I just would have kept to myself and been quiet, like none of this would have happened, But we also threw some sick house parties, man. Like
Not at your sister's place.
No, never. Actually, never. We only had one party there, and there was no alcohol, and I was like 20. But we had a lot of parties. Like a kid Juan that I knew, his dad worked out of town a lot.
I was gonna say, I never did these things. Tell me about high school parties that were crazy at Juan's house.
This was like going into high school.
This is still 8th grade?
Yeah, this would be a lot of it was in the summer going into the 8th grade because we had a lot of free time.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. So he had a cousin that was older who lived at the house
Yeah.
with his girlfriend, and they would buy us alcohol. You know, like 10 of us, 15 of us would scrounge up all the money we could find, steal, whatever.
Steal?
Come
Seriously
over.
steal?
Oh yeah, dude. I used to. West Jefferson is a really long road that is in downtown Trenton.
Okay.
And there used to be a bunch of small businesses. I mean, there still are the ones there, but they're different now.
Sure.
And we used to at night walk through and pull on the doors and see what we get into. Pull on car doors, see if we can get into people's house or not houses, but
In their cars?
in their cars. Get into businesses, see what we could find.
And then just pawn it, or?
No, just take what you wanted and try to find money. Try to find something that. We're trying to steal lighters and cigarettes and crap people leaving their cars in 1999. But yeah, so we'd go over there, and he was really big into drugs. His cousin was, and so we had a lot of weed, sheets of acid. I remember my buddy Jeremy's dad picked us up once from the 7-Eleven near Juan's, and we were all blazed out of our mind. And apparently I wouldn't quit talking in the back seat. And Jeremy was so mad. He was mad at me for the longest time about that. He's like, dude, my dad totally knows, man. I'm like, no, man, he's good. He doesn't know. No, we're good. I did PCP by accident once, and my buddy Nick took care of me. He put me in my bedroom, and he kept me hydrated, and he walked me back from the park where it was a joint laced with PCP, and yeah, that was crazy. That was that stuff I don't recommend doing any kind of recreational use for drugs.
Yeah.
But especially not
surprise PCP.
Yeah. Especially not surprise PCP.
So what happened to Mom's money?
Oh, it was gone real fast.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I remember talking to my sister about these things, what happened to all that money?
Yeah.
Cuz she bought my sister a car.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She bought herself a car. Awesome.
Yeah.
She paid for the rent up front, I would assume, because she wanted that stability for a while.
Sure.
I don't think she ever thought she was going back to work. I mean, maybe something, but her health was declining. So
Okay.
she bought my grandma a tractor, a little lawnmower, and we ate out all the time. I mean, I remember that summer she got sick. Dude, I could put away a medium pizza from Pizza Hut by myself.
That's a lot of food.
Dude, yeah. I gained a ton of weight after my mom got sick the first time. We had all this money. I mean, it was do whatever you want to.
So once you graduated high school, you didn't go to college, right?
I went to Wayne County Community College District 3.
Ooh.
I liked working on cars, so I thought. So I was like, I'm going to go to school for auto mechanics, and I started to. And I liked it, but then I got a job at a Quick Lube.
Mm-hmm.
I saw these old men, their hands are all fat and calloused and beat up and bloody, and I'm like, I hate this. It's 97 degrees out in Michigan. I'm underneath this car that's been running all day. This sucks. You can't not pay me enough money to do this, and I'll work on my own car. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Yeah. Depending on the weather. Yeah. But so I quit going to college, and I kind of went through another phase of depression, because in high school I had started going to church. I had a religious awakening.
Okay.
I've been introduced to Jesus, the gospel of Jesus, and so things really changed for me in high school. I quit doing drugs, quit partying.
Okay, these are all relevant points, and you're just now coming back.
Well, I mean, I know, but you're after high school, and I was like, oh, after high school. Yeah, I know. So yeah, going to high school, this really cute girl was like, hey, you should come to my youth group, and I was like, hey, maybe I will. You gonna be there? I had so much confidence in high school; it was ridiculous. And nothing's changed. But so I went for the pretty girl, and it was some cool people. Because of what I just come out of this life is survival mentality. Mm-hmm. I went every situation I went into, I went in with a puffed up chest, and it was my goal to make sure that whoever saw me, met me, they knew that I was not a person to be messed with. And I walk into this room full of these people, and they're good. They're cool. They're nice to me. They They looked right through that facade, dude, and just like one of the kids named Jake Malpe. Just he like the walls that were there, he was like, "Not get this crap out of here. We're gonna move this aside. What's up, man?" Like it was so disarming. It was so cool, and so I was like, "I'm gonna keep coming here," and so I did. At the same time, I went to a homecoming dance with a junior cheerleader.
Okay.
I'm a freshman skater punk rock kid going to homecoming with a junior cheerleader. Oh, what up? It was awesome. And I actually got engaged to that girl.
Oh.
My sophomore year.
Of high school?
Of high school, yeah. Yeah.
How? Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing how people support such a stupid decision.
That's...
Like, it's...
Huh.
Yeah. We were very serious. I mean, gosh, as serious as a 15-year-old can be. I mean...
Right.
And her name was Tiffany. And I thought I was in love. I wasn't. It was just like, it was something to put myself into.
Yeah.
You know, because I had nobody.
Yeah.
At least I thought I had nobody.
Sure.
And she was a Wiccan.
Okay.
Like a devout, practicing Wiccan.
So this is before Jesus.
This is right at that cusp. Like this is happening.
Okay.
As I'm learning about this dude named Jesus.
Okay.
And so I'm like she's like teaching me these like spells and stuff, and like showing me all this like crazy stuff that would take hours to kind of go into. And I'm like, and I'm also getting fed this other crazy stuff, you know. It's like, we can change the color of your eyes. This dude walked on water. We can go into like the extraterrestrial plane and you can see your other body. This guy died for your sins. I'm like, the world is crazy, you know, like what? And so it was a very confusing, but also very like enlightening time for me. And as a 15-year-old, I was in love.
Yeah.
You know, and then I kept hanging out with these church people, and we went to a winter retreat at Spring Hill camps. And this guy got up and he talked about, you know, it was all the fun stuff, music and sledding and tubing and, you know, like all this fun stuff you can do at winter camp, you know. And he kept having all these like cool talks and like encouraging talks. And then he kept talking about his dad, which anytime like an adult was talking about like their dad, I always wanted to listen. Like I was really drawn to that.
Yeah.
I still am, because I'm always really curious how people see their dads.
Yeah.
And what he was doing is he was like leading us up in a story, and he was like talking about how much his dad's always been there for him. His dad has loved him through all these hard things and has supported him. And then he's like turned the tables and he was like, my dad is God the Father, Jesus, and he can be your father too. And I was like, what? Like, I'm sitting in this huge auditorium and all these kids, and I'm just like the only person in the room, and I'm just like, I can't. What? Like, I can have a dad?
Yeah.
Like the missing link to my life, like.
Yeah, it was specifically tailored for you.
Dude, yeah. And come on, God, be my father.
Yeah.
Like, I want that so badly. And that's what happened. I became a church kid. Like, I was always at my church.
Yeah.
I was attached to my youth pastor's hip.
Yeah.
Like, he became my best friend. But yeah, so I accepted Christ and was like just living this like awesome renewal, and like, but also dating a Wiccan at the same time, you know? So it was like this weird like life of...
So how did that end?
She like kind of lost her mind. And she tried to off herself, and she couldn't deal with a relationship at the time. And so it just ended.
Yeah. So that explains then how you got through high school a little better, I guess.
Yeah.
I assume your grades improved when you weren't doing drugs all the time?
No, not at all. No.
Oh.
No, I had no interest in school.
Yeah.
And it got to the point, man, where I was leaving school a lot.
Cutting class?
Yeah. And a lot of times, my youth pastor would come and pick me up, and we'd go out to lunch, and then we'd go back to the office, and we would sit there and like talk about theology and
wow,
and work on his car, work on my truck. I mean, just like, he really was like a father figure I never had. Like, you know, all those things Dad should have done, all these other men are stepping up and doing, and you know, that was one of the ones, like, I learned a lot of wisdom from him.
Yeah.
but he would always come pick me up. And gosh, I remember one morning I'm walking to school and he's at a diner near my school. So I walk over to the diner to say hi. And he's like, what are you doing today? It's like a Tuesday. What do you think? What do you think I'm doing? Like, I'm going to school, you know?
Yeah.
So I sit down, had breakfast with him. And then we went out shopping and did a bunch of stuff. Like,
Did he? I mean, he knew you were in high school.
yeah. I
question your youth.
Oh no,
pastor.
I mean, I'm sure he's actually an educator now. Like he's a good one too. But like that's what I needed.
You turned out all right.
Yeah, like I didn't need to be in school. I needed to be loved.
Yeah.
And like that's exactly what was happening. God bless my sister and my brother-in-law. They couldn't love me the way I needed to be loved at that time. They were loving me the only way they knew how to, which was just keeping a roof over my head.
Yeah.
And them not killing me. So the only other person in my life was going to be this man.
Yeah.
And he's the best. He went to Moody Bible Institute, and that's where I'm a graduate of myself.
Okay.
And I went there because of his encouragement. It's just crazy to think about the generations. This one man has changed.
That's cool.
By letting me skip school and signing me out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So once you graduated from high school and you tried out auto mechanics and then decided not to do that, then what happened?
I went into a spiral.
Really?
I was like kind of those in your face Christians,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And my sister and I often got into an argument about it. Like on my door in the house that they bought, on the outside was all these stickers and posters and things, and one of it was this big one that says repent and be saved. Crap like that, you know?
Yeah. They're not believers or weren't believers.
They were not.
Okay.
At the time.
Wow.
At the time, yes.
But they're taking care of you.
Yeah, they are.
They're being nice to you.
Incredible. The sacrifice is enormous. So, but my sister and I we got in a lot of them. We got into this argument, and she said to me something I had never thought of.
Yeah.
She said, how can you believe in something that would ever suggest that mom isn't in heaven? My response to her was really arrogant. It was like, that should show you how serious I am about what I'm saying. But the reality was, I was like, I've never dealt with that. Okay, so we got something to deal with. Like, let's deal with it. Like, and so I started to deal with it. I mean, I went to my youth pastor, I went to my pastor, I went to the elders in my church. I went to other pastors I knew. I started reading, getting into like old Catholic literature, just trying to find like some kind of answer, something that I could like hold on to.
Yeah.
You know, even just like a nugget, and I couldn't find crap. And so I started getting kind of frustrated. Is my mom in heaven or hell? It got to the point where I was like, it's not so much which answer I'm looking for, it's an answer. And I remember the only Bible we really had growing up was this like huge old podium Bible that has like the beautiful pictures inside of it that like they leave open, you know, like on communion days, you know, in Baptist church. And that was the only real thing that I could ever think of that was like a connection between my mom and God was this Bible. And so I remember pleading with God, like, please just tell me. If it's audibly, if it's something, like just send something. I need to know right now. You need to tell me, because I literally cannot keep searching and I cannot keep living without knowing. And I never got an answer. And so I got pissed. I felt like God had turned his back to me. And in these 4 years of being a Christian, like God had brought up this support for me. Like I went to an incredible Bible teaching church. I got really close to my pastor's family. I actually dated my pastor's daughter for 2 years. He did not approve of that, but he still let it happen.
Yeah.
I had a great support group. I everything was good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. And I remember telling God, like, I'll stay out of your way, you stay out of mine. And I wrote everyone off. I just cut it out completely.
And how quickly is this? I mean, like a couple days time, you just drop everyone?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of avoidance, a lot of people coming over to my house, like trying to talk to me, trying to see me. I mean, people started getting the hint, and like, I mean, my pastor one time mailed me an envelope with pictures of my baptism. And on the back, he was like, never forget this moment. And it just angered me. I still believed in God.
Right.
Because the thing is like, I really saw God as a father. And so it was like the same way my dad, Michael Anthony Guzman, is my dad, but can write me off. I did the exact same thing. And I knew exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
From experience. And so I did that. I started hanging out with, a lot of my friends were still into some bad stuff, but I just didn't partake. And then I started partaking.
Yeah.
Partaking. And then I started making really good money, which allowed me to partake even more.
So we're talking drinking and drugs and...
Never really drugs anymore. Somebody introduced me to taking pills.
Oh, okay.
After a while.
Yeah.
But it was really just drinking.
Yeah.
A lot of drinking, a lot of going to the clubs. Like when I was 19, we lived right across the water from Windsor.
Okay.
And so we'd drive to Canada and at like 8 o'clock at night and then get home at like 7 a.m. the next day.
Wow.
And just rage, go gambling at the casino and go to those clubs where like the foam's coming out of the ceiling, and like the laser lights coming out everywhere. And
no, I don't, but okay.
yeah,
sure.
dude, like I just like in those movies, like those places exist.
Wow.
And they're crazy.
Yeah.
We used to have the funnest parties, and like the one of the hard parts about being sober, and I can't even say that because we still have some good parties now, like as adults. But as you get like have kids, I just miss fun parties, like Pimps and Hoes party, where the guys dress as hoes and the girls dress as pimps.
Oh gosh. Uh-huh.
When was it 2006 when the Pope died? We had the Pope is Dead party. We all wore Pope hats and put like black makeup on our eyes and
oh my gosh.
like that one's a little more offensive, but we needed a reason to drink. I mean, you can't just get together and drink. That's just sad. Like,
oh my gosh.
So we had all these awesome parties and
you just called it an awesome party.
it was a good time.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I mean, and we, and in that time you run into a lot of different people, and a lot of different people expose you to a lot of different things.
I'll bet.
I remember one kid one time was like, "You want to get high?" And I'm like, "No, I'm all right, man." And he was like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Well, what do you got?" And he's like, "Heroin." And I'm like, "What? Who?" Like never, like at this point in my life, that had happened a lot. People ask me if I want to get high with them.
Yeah.
And the worst has been cocaine, which I can understand. Like, hey man, you want to party? Yeah. This is not the 80s, so no, I don't. But like, no, I'm not going to do heroin with you, and you have one needle. Like, this is how, like...
I love that you had the common sense in the midst of all of that. Heroin's... That's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And sharing a needle? Oh, man, that's not... Now it's totally out of the question.
Yeah, as I'm putting in my arm, you can look at me and go, hey, guess what? Now we're HIV buddies. Like, no, like, what? You can't, like... No. I've seen Dallas Buyers Club. I know what happens.
Jeez.
But yeah,
gosh.
Man, we partied hard. We used to go to City Club, which is an old Gothic industrial club that my sister used to go to.
Oh.
Where they play that like music, and it's pitch black and just except for like strobe lights and the people wearing the gas mask and the full body latex suits.
Yes.
Like just
sure.
like dude, those are some good times. I mean, and what's funny is there are times when I like think that, and there are times when I'll actually meditate, and I thought, do I really miss that? No, because there was a lot of debauchery and stupidity in that. Like, we were really dumb.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like, this is great. I mean, we used to go to strip clubs all the time.
How old are you at this point? You said 19...
19.
1920, 2021?
Yeah, 19, 20, 21, 22.
So this is several years.
Yeah, I fell away from the church, and I disregarded God for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of alcohol abuse and a lot of being really stupid, and dude, just the stupid. And I thought I was a baller. Like, I thought I had all this money. I lived in a cheap apartment, and like the exchange rate was really high over in Canada. So like a dollar was like $1.83. So it was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I'm loaded,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh crap, I just lost it all. I'm playing blackjack, you know,
Wow.
but
So, okay. So after a few years, something changed again?
dude, yeah, my buddy Jake Malpe, the one at church who just cut me down, cut the walls down. It was like, no walls here, bro.
Yeah.
He was getting married, and his dad was an elder at the church, and oh man, Chip, his dad Chip is, so man, just a special spot in my heart for that man. Went to his wedding in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and as I'm going, I'm like, holy crap, there's gonna be people from the church there. I have not seen a lot of. Oh my gosh, okay, panic attack. You know what? Whatever. There's gonna be wine. I'm gonna be just fine.
Wow.
And there's actually pictures of me that I have at that where I'm hammered at that wedding. So I dated the pastor's daughter, Tiffany, and she was a really good friend of mine after we broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Even after that, she was a very good person and had a lot of grace with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was the first person to come and say hi to me. It was very awkward for me. I'm sure for her too, but you know. And then I mentored this kid named Zach for a while, and his mom saw me, Sandy Johnson, who is probably one of the most beautiful women you'll ever meet. Her heart is so big, like it's that woman loves bigger than most people even can ever fathom how to. She saw me there, and she was so excited to see me. And she's very upfront. She was just like, Michael, where have you been? You cannot just write people off like that. It was just like, I'm not having it, you
Yeah.
know? So I saw all these people that I hadn't seen in years, and, you know, I'm kind of like trying to stay outside and smoke cigars and drink wine and avoid the inside because that's where all the old people are. And
Yeah.
it was an older person church. So I'm like, you know, and Tiffany gives me this DVD of this pastor. In the video, the pastor's talking about how a good friend of his died. And before I say that, like, she gives me the video, I'm like, she goes, you need to watch this. And that's all I want to say to you. I don't want to have a conversation with you, because I know you don't have a conversation with me. Just take this and please watch it. One night I came home from a party, and I was really drunk. And I sat down on my computer, and I saw that DVD, and I put it in, and I was like, whatever, you know, I'll put it in. In it, the pastor says, if you've ever lost somebody, whether it was 10 years ago, 5 days ago, I just want to let you know I'm so sorry that you lost that person. And I'm so sorry that you have that pain. And dude, I'm like, I don't even know what, it's like in the middle of the night, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry too, you know, and like, it broke me. I don't know why, but it just like opened my heart back up to this love that was there that I just pushed away. And seeing all those people reminded me that people love me and that I am loved. And so I started inching my way back in very slowly.
Yeah.
To the church, which is very awkward because it was like a 300-person church. And
It's hard to inch into something like that.
yeah, you know, and it's been like 3.5 years, so I haven't seen a lot of these people. I forget your name, but they don't forget you.
No, yeah.
Old ladies will never forget your name. And so it was a lot of awkward conversations. But that church acted like nothing had ever happened and invited me right back in with the utmost love. It was beautiful. And so around this time, I was at my sister's house, and I was visiting my sister too, but really my nephew, because let's be honest, that kid's awesome. And you know, after you have like nieces and nephews, you're like, I want to see you. I don't really care about you. Like, you know, now I love them, but you know, at that time I was like, what's up, little man? You know?
Yeah.
I was going through some stuff upstairs because I still had some stuff at their house, and I found that Bible my mom had. I remember looking through it, and there was a name. It said, to Sheila McSpadden, from Michael Lixie. I was like, Misty, who is this guy? She was like, I was one of Mom's friends for a long, long time. He moved away, whatever. I'm starting to see with people at church again, One of the kids that I kind of mentored, Zach, his mom, Sandy, the one who loves real big, she was like, Michael, you have to come over, see the house. And so I go over, and we're hanging out, and they have like a really nice backyard, and we're all sitting out there, and she just flat out goes, so where have you been and why? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you where I've been and why, and it's going to be really awkward, but whatever, they made it a very safe place, which is the Johnson's home has always been a safe place. And it's funny as I say that, it's one of those things like in my mind where like, when I think of a safe place, like that kitchen table is like one of the things that pops in my mind.
Yeah.
But I'm telling the story, and Sandy was just like, is there anything that you could ever put together that maybe your mom knew Jesus, or at least you have to have an answer? And I was like, I wish I did. And then I mentioned that Bible, and I was like, I don't know, it's just some random Bible. It was given to my mom by some guy, and they're like, oh, what was his name? And I was like, Mike or Michael Lixie, something like that. And the whole family's face was like they'd seen a ghost. And Zach, I think, was like 15 at the time, 16. He was like, no way. And he points, and he's like, he's our neighbor.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just like, what now?
Yeah.
Like, did I hear that right? And they exploded. They were like, what? This is insane. Oh my gosh. Like, and I'm still trying to piece together, like, here's this breadcrumb of like what something possibility, and it's like growing. It has like possible substance.
Yeah.
So I came over. No, I remember Sandy called me, and she was like, are you going to go talk to this guy or what? Like, we know him really well. Like, and I was like, I don't know. And she's like, I just found out he's moving next week to California to go live with his sister. You need to come over.
Yeah.
Me and Zach went over there, knocked on that door, and there's this potbelly, old man with like missing the head of hair and just the sweetest smile. It's such a spirit of happiness. And I was like, hi, you don't know me, but I think you might have known my mom, Sheila McSpadden. And this man's face lit up. And he was like, you must be Sheila's son, little Mikey. He's like, man, the last time I saw you, you were as high as my knees. He's like, This is crazy. And so it was like about 3.5 minutes, 5 minutes of like, so you knew my mom, like, kind of, talk. And, Zach knew him as his neighbor, so he's kind of chiming in. And I said, so the reason I came over here is, this is going to sound insane. Me and God aren't on speaking terms, really, because of this. The only connection I have is this Bible you gave my mom.
Yeah.
This is going to sound crazy, and I'm sorry. Do you know if my mom knew Jesus?
Yeah.
And he was like, man, he just started crying. And he was like, I got so many times to tell your mom about Jesus. And he's like, when she was in her early 20s, she accepted Christ as her Lord and Savior. And he put his arm on my shoulder, and he's like, I have no doubt in my mind where she is.
Oh.
And that one day we'll both see her again. All right, cool, man. Thanks. Thanks.
You played it cool? Oh my gosh.
I did. It's funny, even now, it doesn't seem fair. If I had just remained faithful, I wasted 3.5 years, man, doing some stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like an accelerated course on stupidity.
Yeah.
And it's because I just didn't stay faithful, And like, it wasn't like this answer was far. I mean, he was the neighbor to a family I was really close with, to a family of a kid that I was helping mentor. Like, he was next door.
Yeah.
The answer was next door.
Yeah.
But because the answer wasn't exactly where I wanted it, and because it wasn't in my time frame, I wasted 3.5 years, man.
Wow.
And man, I regret that. I regret that so much. But it answered the question. And dude, I have never, I have never, since that moment, had a shred of doubt or lack of peace about my mom.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, the doubt's never been able to, like, sneak back in there. Well, do you really know?
Yeah.
You know, and people could, like, I mean, I could tear it apart and be like, well, you weren't raised in the church, and a good Christian raises their Christians in the church. It's like, yeah, we try to do our best.
Yeah.
But the peace that God has given me in my heart, man, I don't have an answer for any of those things, but I got an answer for that.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's great.
After that, you went to Moody.
Yeah, little. I would say probably 2 years
Okay. During that time, what were you doing?
working.
Okay.
I was doing heating and cooling installation in Detroit.
Huh.
My pastor and my like and me we're still really close. We had, rebonded. Me and Tiffany were good friends again.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my pastor were good friends again. Things were looking up, and they were like, listen, like, we don't want you to be living for scraps. Like, we would like you to have an education.
Mm.
We would love to pay for your education.
Wow.
So you need to pick a trade school and apply to it. And that's going to be your focus. So that way you can have an income, you can have a future. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. Wow. Thank you. Like, I can't even, that's amazing. So I'm like looking at things like, what do I want to do? Do I want to do this and this and this? Like, I had friends who were welders on like Zug Island, and like I had friends who were computer programmers, and like all these different things, and
Mm-hmm.
started praying about it. And it was just like, God was like, Moody's not off the table. Like, I never took that off the table. You did. So I was like, all right, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And they were like, probably not the best at this time. So, and this is, I would say, about a year after me coming back to the church. And
Okay.
so I was like, oh, okay, you're paying for the school, whatever. I totally get that. But that's not what happened. I applied to Moody without them knowing.
Yeah.
And I said, if I don't get in, then I'll start looking at trade schools.
Mm-hmm.
But I got in.
Yeah.
Whoa, this actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, God, are you not done with me yet?
Yeah.
Like, this vision that you have for my life? It wasn't a career. Like, it wasn't like, I'm going to go to school to be a pastor, a youth pastor. Like, as like, this is going to be my job. It was like, I have a deep desire for people to understand God's word and to have a deeper understanding of who he is through it, and just to grasp it's just, there's so much to it, and you can't grasp it all, but you might as well take as much as you can while you're here. And like, and that passion has never left. And so I went to my pastor. I was like, hey man, so I didn't do what you asked me to do, but I did do this, and like, they were happy. They were
That's
happy
cool.
for me,
Yeah.
and so,
Is Moody the one that doesn't have tuition?
they don't have tuition because it's all donor based. Moody Chicago, it's all dorms, so you pay your, living and housing and stuff.
Right.
And then in Washington State, they didn't have housing, so they were like, well, what do kids pay over there to live on campus? Okay, it's $4,000. It's like $4,000 a year.
Okay.
So $4,000 a year to be a student out here. So I got a 4 years bachelor degree from accredited university for nothing.
Yeah.
And my pastor paid for a lot of it.
That's amazing.
A lot of it. Praise be to God for that man, because dude.
So then what? So after school, after Moody.
At Moody, I met my wife.
Oh, you met her at... Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
She went to Moody?
Yeah, I know, right? Everybody says the same thing. It's like...
I didn't mean it like that. I just...
What? Okay.
Oh. Sorry, Paige.
No sorries needed. Dude, I was a freshman and she was a sophomore. And mind you, I'm like 24.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm at a coffee shop and I'm like diving into this like school spirit, yeah. Like I had the shirt on, the hoodie, the sticker on the laptop, like all these things. And I'm at this coffee shop, and this big, large, very crowded coffee shop. And Paige walks up to me and she goes, "Hi, I'm Paige. You should know me."
Oh my gosh, that's so Paige.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, not interested. No, I was like, I'm really trying to be a good student here, lady. What do you want? Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And it was really awkward. And she put her phone number in my phone while I was gone. Well, because I went up to get another drink,
Oh my gosh.
and she put her phone number in my phone.
Oh, that's Paige.
Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing. I remember her saying that to me. I don't remember much else.
Yeah.
She was bubbly, cute, had a great padonkadonk, and that was pretty much it. And I felt guilty for thinking about that padonkadonk at the time.
Uh-huh.
Now I don't feel guilty
That's good.
because
Yeah.
I'm married to her.
Yeah. Mike,
I'm
what are you afraid of?
afraid of letting everyone down. I'm terrified of my kids looking back and seeing their dad as a failure. I'm afraid of my wife only saying she supports me because she's my wife, not because she has something to support me for. Terrified of that.
What do you regret?
I regret so much. I regret choosing my flesh over wisdom, over doing the right thing. And there's a lot of argument out there for, like having a good time, and you need to go through that wild stage, and things like that. And I learned a lot from that time, but I've also seen a lot of people I know go through it with me and who have not come out the other end, and who have literally had their lives taken from them, or them take their own lives from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not worth the gamble. I say I probably honestly regret I regret my past relationships with women. If I could take all of those back, man, I would take all of those back, because it didn't add to anything.
Right.
Yep. And it just brought junk with me into my marriage and in life.
Yep. Yep. Who is God?
Oh, this is that question.
That question.
Dude, I've been trying to figure out, like, what's a good answer for this. Like, is it going to be one of those like emotional answers, like, he is this, or like, is it like going to be like a really like theological answer? And I keep coming back to this. He is sweetness. He's like that sense and that feeling of someone being sweet to you, but in such an overwhelming good way. And he is constant. I mean, I want to tell you, he's Jesus Christ of the Bible. Got to do that plug. But to be honest, man, I mean, he is pure sweetness to my heart. And to me, like, he just, when I look back and I see all these dark times in my life, God was sweet to Mike.
Yeah.
I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
And God brought uncles and my brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And that was him being sweet on me. When I didn't have any real friends and guidance, he brought people around me, and that was him being sweet to me. When I begged and wanted an answer, but I was not patient enough to wait for the answer, he was still sweet to me. And while I was out doing stupid things and being irresponsible with myself and my resources and my body and my heart, he protected me. Because I'm still alive right now.
Right.
And I'm okay, healthy.
Yeah.
And so that was him being sweet to me. And he's sweet to me right now. I mean, I've got 3 beautiful kids who are asleep right now. Hopefully they're asleep right now. And a smoking hot wife who is probably asleep right now. And I don't deserve none of that stuff, man.
Right.
I mean, he's sweet to me.
That's awesome.
You're awesome.
No, that's not true.
No,
But
it is.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you. Confession time. I had to make this episode, not just because he's a good friend of mine and he's got a great story, but because his wife, Paige, is the #1 fan of the show. That's right. I know a lot of you think that you are probably the most ardent fan of this show, but it is in fact Paige's role to be the #1 fan of this show. She is the first super fan I had, and in fact, she's part of the inspiration for the show because she was in a conversation with my wife one day, I believe is the version of the story I heard, and she said that sometimes she just starts crying thinking about all of the stories that she's never going to get to hear from people. Well, I love people's stories too, and when I heard that, I thought I wish there was a way that we could share more people's stories with, wait a minute, a podcast. So there you go. Now you know the secret origin story of this podcast. It's Mike's wife's fault. Thank you, Paige. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to know what Mike looks like, and his page would tell you he's hot and sexy, go go to our website. It is www.butenouughabout.me. That's www.butenouughabout.me. You can see all of the portraits, listen to past episodes, connect to different podcasting platforms, drop me feedback, let me know how we're doing, or if you know of somebody that should be on the show, connect them through there. All of those things and more are available on the website, butenouughabout.me. Additionally, down toward the bottom, you can connect with two of the gentlemen that helped make this show happen. Mr. Casey Jones, whose work you can see at core29.com. That's CORE29.com. An excellent, excellent designer. And Mr. Jace Hackman, the guitarist and songwriter who gives us our intro and outro music, or at least normally does. Today we've got some exceptions, those being courtesy of Mr. Mike Guzman. Anyway, if you'd like to hear more of Jace's work, you can go to his website, jacehackman.com. And again, links to both of their work is available at the bottom of our website, butenouughabout.me. If you'd like to connect with us on the social media platforms, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Both of those are /butenoughAboutMe podcast. I try to update the stories there pretty regularly. The posts are less frequent, but they are there. And if you contact us through there or through the website, I promise I'm going to get back to you. I am getting back to people. It's just I'm slow. This is like my third full-time job, so, cut me some slack. I'm sorry. All right, that's it. You've got an assignment. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, buy someone a cup of coffee or a glass of whiskey and ask them to tell you their story. My name is Tyler Andrews, but enough about me.